The West Tigers season has been an absolute failure. It looks like it could have been one of the most successful seasons in recent history, but after round 8, they just kind of fell off and were never able to get back up. So today I'm going to be talking everything West Tigers, reviewing their entire season so far, and also going over a few points of why I think they were so successful at the start and now why they're not so successful at the moment. Currently sitting 15th in the ladder. At round 8, they're around 2nd, 3rd in the ladder, so they have really fallen off. So it's time we talk about it. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another Expat Ollie video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and even buy a membership if you really like the content. So with that said, I want to get straight into some of the points where I think they played well in these first few 8 or so rounds. We'll go with 8 rounds. So I definitely think there's some early tactical innovation from coach Benji Marshall. He really introduced a high energy, unpredictable attacking structure. It completely caught opposition defenses off guard, and it really worked. They won some really good games against really good opposition really early on, and it was definitely showing there was definitely something there as well. The halves chemistry actually worked quite well. I think Jock Madden coming in to replace Luai because of injury, teaming up with Adam Doueihi, actually worked out quite nice for multiple games. There were a lot of games where he looked like he played really well. It was unfortunate they didn't have that Luai and Doueihi partnership for most of their success. When you look at it, most of the success, they didn't have those two. The first round they did. So it does show something a little bit. I'm not going to blame on Jerome. We know he's a brilliant player. But that Jock Madden and Doueihi connection they had actually really worked when you look back at it. A lot of really good wins came from that. A lot of really defensive resilience. The team showed genuine grit under fatigue early on. So managing wins like 44-16 over North Queensland, which was their first game of the year. They actually started off with a bye, so this was actually the second round. And I also think young hunger. There was a lot of hunger from a lot of key young prospects. They wanted to provide relentless effort, lifting the side's intensity above more experienced squads. And yeah, I think that momentum and the motivation and all the stuff they had behind them and all the fan base and all those guys behind them really caused the Tigers to be so successful at the start of the season. Before I go into some of the negatives, let's just kind of review the first successful period of the Tigers. Onto that. They kicked off with the 44-16 win over the Cowboys. A brilliant start at Leichhardt Oval. You have a bye in round 1, so you don't play. You play in round 2, and they showed something absolutely special. I had completely no doubts before the season, and they really proved everyone wrong. Well, they looked like they would have proved everyone wrong. Then they went into their first loss of the year. You might say, oh, this is really quick for already a loss. Well, it's actually at Polytech Stadium in Gosford. They had a really close one with South Sydney, and they just lost out by 4 points. Literally just a try away, with it finishing 20-16. It actually probably could have been a bit more. The Latrell missed 2 kicks in that game. It was 2 tries for the Tigers, and they were actually ahead at half time as well. When you look at the squad, this was including Luai and Doueihi. The first game without Luai, though, I believe was this next one between the Warriors and the Tigers. Yeah, so Jock Madden came in for this first game against the partnering with Doueihi against the Warriors and got himself a try. The Warriors, who we have seen like this entire season, they've been playing really well and at times can really punish teams. The Tigers really punished them. It was at Go Media Stadium in Auckland, and they won 32-14. It was actually pretty dominant from the Tigers. It was a brilliant start. That's how good this start was. They beat the Warriors pretty easily as well. So, great effort. Then they went to round 5 to Parramatta. I was at this, remember, Easter Monday, CommBank Stadium, and it went to Golden Point, and then they scored a penalty goal in Golden Point to win 22-20. The Tigers, I guess they got a little bit lucky, but it was a really entertaining game. Parramatta definitely put up a fight there, thank goodness, but unfortunately hearts were broken through some interesting decisions at the end. But once again, the Tigers don't mind because they got away with it and they got a win. Then they went to the Knights to prove themselves. They wanted to show that last week, round 5, wasn't just a little thing that's like, oh, well, it was just a one-time thing. And were off or something. They wanted to prove something, guaranteed, and they went out there and they scored. 42-22 was the final score. They scored 40 on the Newcastle Knights, a team we have seen this season who have had some brilliant moments. The Tigers were able to do that. Then we go into round 7, their second loss of the season. This was against the Brisbane Broncos. You might think, I should end the little start bit now. Definitely not, because this was kind of a one-off. It was a really, really nice battle against the Broncos. Very, very close at Campbelltown, and it was a very impressive performance from both sides. This was actually Luai's first game back. What a coincidence, his first game back, and they lost. So when you look at it, maybe Luai wasn't a super lucky charm, but look, he was back on the team, and then in round 8, which I'm going to find this one off before I go to the bad points, they had probably one of their best wins, I think. I loved watching this game on the TV, and the people there will always remember this moment. A Leichhardt packed on a Thursday night. Tigers 33, Raiders 14. What a great day to be a Tigers fan. They were so good at the moment, and they had a really, really good game. If you look to round 8, so I look on this NRL ladder, as you can see, they were sitting in 3rd place. But then it all went downhill. So, on to my points of why the Tigers went downhill. More of a newer one, I would actually say the destructive roster disruption. Obviously, injuries are a part of that, but also people leaving. Look, Jerome, while he probably hasn't had the best season of, all time, but, look, he's still their captain and still a very important player. So to decide to go to Parramatta, which was, a few weeks ago, so it's pretty recent, is definitely going to help and add to the downfall of the Tigers so far this season. And just any moments like that will just cause extra pressure on coaching and stuff like that. It was an earlier than expected release, so not perfect if you're a Tigers fan. And also, very recently, is the Adam Doueihi walkout. So, internal trust completely fractured when Doueihi refused to play lock and sat out on the round 21 match against Canberra, where they got destroyed. And we will go on talking about that. That's another recent one that definitely moments like that do affect. I think overall, since then, there was a lot of slipping in the club standards. Benji Marshall publicly admitted that the team professionalism and standards have slipped heavily at training over the last 2 months. So that's definitely one that's been a key over the last few months, obviously, as it says there, and definitely a big one. When club standards and stuff training slip and it's not as serious anymore, there can definitely be some major problems that could happen for a footy team. Then compounding injury woes, crucial size and depth in the forward pack vanished, with Victoria injuries sidelined frontliners like Royce Hunt and Kai Pearce-Paul. And then also, I think the main one, which we can all tell, was it was a catastrophic defensive deplorability. Their structural defense totally vanished. There is some bad problems. From a defense that looked actually pretty good this start of the season, it has completely collapsed recently. So, as I said, it's now time to go on to the bad days for the West Tigers, because there's quite a few bad days for the West Tigers when you look at it. So going straight into round number 9, this was the big one. They went to Ocean Project Stadium, Shark Park, and got absolutely walloped by the Sharks, 52-10. Everyone thought maybe it's just an off one. It was very random, very out of the blue, like a shark attack. They really just pounced and just bit one of their legs off, just completely out of nowhere. Putting 50 points to them completely random was an absolute shock for even the Tigers fans. I remember seeing that Tigers fan, there was a kid in the all over the news and that because he was crying after the game and something like that. It was just so out of the blue, and then they're like, okay, let's back up. Storm not had a great season. They go to Amy Park, get destroyed again. They lose 44-16. Those 2 games were awful. Then they're like, okay, we're going to go to the Magic Round, bounce back. They had such a good start of the season, then they conceded another 40 points, 50 points, so 52, 44, and then 46 points to the Manly Seagulls, losing 46-18. They had a bye, a rest, they came back, they won. Maybe the Tigers were back. The week later, they took on Penrith. No, 68-0. 68-0. They lost to the Penrith Panthers. Demolished at home. That is embarrassing for the Tigers. An embarrassment for their season. They beat the Titans, sure, the next week, but it was actually pretty close. And the Titans, who are on good form at the moment, weren't necessarily at the best at that point. The Tigers then went on to lose to the Dolphins, lost in a really close game to the Knights by 6 points, then lost to the Dragons. There's only two teams who have lost to the Dragons all year. It's the Broncos and the Tigers. I wouldn't want to be a part of that kind of list. That was an atrocious game. They lost 24-10 to one of the worst teams in the NRL. The Dragons, good game for them, but the Tigers were out of it. Their rematch against Warriors, looking for a win and upset like they did previously. The Warriors defeated them at Campbelltown. For the Bulldogs to pretty much destroy them, 32-0 at a core. They only have barely been scoring any points recently. And until the most recent game, round 21, Raiders 56, Tigers 10. The support has been following them, and that's definitely not an issue, but there is a problem. There's a lot of problems, I'd say, as I mentioned before, that's in this cup. Because something has definitely changed. They take Parramatta on this weekend. They currently sit in 16th place on the ladder, actually. So they are below Parramatta now in this crazy rematch that we'll see in round 22. Obviously, it's a home game for them. Then they go on to a bye. Then they have the Dragons, the Roosters, the Cowboys, Penrith to end off the year. So we could see maybe Tigers winless for the rest of the season. And if the Dragons have to win over them, there could be problems for the Tigers. It's pretty unlikely for them to get the spoon, but there definitely could be problems. Wooden Spoon Bowl will definitely come back for me. That's definitely going to be a future video on my mind to make. But all that said, thank you so much for listening to me. Yap. Welcome. Once again, make sure, please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, comment, share. Do whatever you want, lads. Up Parramatta.